So if you're watching this on video, you've been completely robbed of an awesome introduction because I only have it on the audio. So deal with it and listen to the audio, and then you can watch the video after. I don't know, a lot more people listen to the audio anyway. So we're here, and this episode is brought to you by Duonamic, as always. Door frame pull-up thingies are awesome, sending lots of gifts to our guests. They've really been the best sponsor ever. And designateddrinks.ca, keeping us not drunk.
Yes.
Especially, yeah, there you go. Sober carpenter, especially over the holidays. I will say this is the first New Year's Eve ever, and I'm not actively going, I'm not drinking anymore, or sober January, sober what. I'm not doing that. But New Year's Eve, I didn't have a drop of alcohol at all. And I drove us home, and that was really kind of nice. We slept in our bed. We still didn't get to bed at 4 a.m, which was ludicrous.
Yeah.
And do you know why? Do you know why? Because the dog pooped on the kitchen floor.
In protest.
I don't know if it was in protest or if maybe he was just a little bit too long, or fireworks.
Oh, okay. All that makes sense.
Yeah. So we didn't give him crap. How do you like that? Didn't give him crap because, I don't want to think it was his fault. He's coughing on the floor now. That's great. Good stuff. So he's here. It's all good. So yeah. Before we get to it, how was your New Year's? Because we haven't talked in 2 weeks, like realistically.
Right. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Same thing. My New Year's was really chill. Same thing. I didn't have big plans. Like, we're not really drinking either. And like dry January, we're like, let's just start it early, whatever. But we did have our plan was actually to go to bed early and then do a long run January 1st, like get a nice head start. But the same thing, we ended up just like a group of friends just got into good conversations, and it was all of a sudden it's like 2:00. So, but yeah, we had a really good time. So, but really chill for New Year's. But yeah, it was nice. And we've had great weather here for running. There's no snow on the ground except for the 3 days over Christmas where we were completely snowed in, and then it's been gone. So
okay, and we're gonna get to something really quick, but I need to discuss my worst drive ever.
Okay.
You said the 3 days over Christmas. It was insanity. So I have our tradition. My poor children come from a broken home. No, so
don't call it a broken home.
Broken home. It's horrible. It's amazing they survived. But so our thing the whole time since their mother and I have been apart has been, I take the kids Christmas Eve, like the day before Christmas Eve, and we just made Christmas Eve our Christmas, right? So Christmas Eve morning, we get up, we do the gifts. We just kind of back to the day because it just makes it so much easier, right? With all the running back and forth. And if you're part of that kind of relationship, that just compromise is everything. And it's worked so well. So we still do that. The kids are 21 and 19 now. Still do the same thing. So Christmas Eve is just nutso storm. Like just started falling, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, well, my son is a very good driver, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Let me drive you guys because it's really bad out. And he doesn't have quite as much experience as me. So I'm like, let me drive. Holy shit. Like worst drive of my life. We got to the point, it was like a 10-minute drive for this portion of the road. And it took me 45 minutes.
Wow.
And we saw, I think, 8 cars either in the ditch or just in the middle of the road given up.
Stop. Yeah.
And snowed in and couldn't move. And the first couple I stopped, are you okay? Yes, we're okay. And then it got to the point where it was so bad where it's like I could not even stop to ask people if they were okay, because then I would be done. There'd be no getting going again. And you couldn't see because of the whiteout conditions. So it was so white out you couldn't see. And then the window would freeze up and the wipers were frozen, so I couldn't see out there. So at one point, my son had his head out one window and I had my head out the other window, and we could physically touch snow drifts on each side of the van. We're like bouncing between them and just trying to, I'm like sawing the wheel back and forth, doing everything I can to make forward progress. And, so we keep going, we soldier through. And a couple times there was clear spots, like clear as in you could see the road. So I would stop in the middle of the road, bang off the wipers. And we had this woman behind us, and there it goes. Stupid camera. I'm going to finish this part before I redo it. So woman behind us, and I stop and I go back to see if she's okay. She's like, yeah, she's in a well-prepared vehicle, 4x4, good snow tires, ready to go. But she's young. She was probably like 19, 18 years old. And I'm like, okay, well, just try to stay behind us. And we get closer to the end of that road and it gets really, really, really bad. And I'm fighting, just fighting, fighting, fighting. And I get through and we get to where we're turning and it eases up. And I look back and she's gone. And
Oh,
I'm like, oh, I don't know. But we found out that people's cars were out there for almost 2 days, stuck out there.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
that bad. And I was just like, I
I
was,
saw a lot of pictures of cars just stopped on the road and then the drifts just completely overtaking them.
yeah, it was,
Um, yeah, there was a lot of pictures in the media of 15-foot snow drifts just completely overtaking vehicles that were just completely stopped in the highways. So not near me. I think it was a bit closer to where you are, but
yeah, we were right in the snow belt of it, right smack in the middle. But
yeah,
and then spring hit. That's all gone.
I know.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my tumultuous worst drive ever. I can honestly say after in a lifetime of Canadian winters here out in the woods of Nova Scotia, everywhere where I've lived is some of the not that was the worst drive I've ever had.
Wow.
Buffalo, I drove through Buffalo. We drove through Buffalo in that storm. This was worse. It
I
wasn't as
can't.
long, but it was worse.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the holiday talk. So big news, big thing we want to talk about is Fit Farm DECA.
Yes. So I think we talked about it in our last one, but I'm an official DECA affiliate gym now, and I have this cool connection with a mall owner here in town, and he's allowing me to use the mall to host an indoor DECA mile. So as far as I know, it's the first DECA mile in Canada. And I think the format will be really cool. So we have a big open room in the mall for the setup, and it's going to be 2 lanes head to head. And then the running portion will go out into the mall, going down and back in the hallway. So I think it'll be really exciting.
I think it's gonna be absolutely awesome, and like just visually very cool.
Mhm.
Do the people at DECA realize who you are yet?
I don't know. I don't know. It was a really fun onboarding
You
call.
have to mention it at least a little bit, at least a little bit.
Yeah, so my very first onboarding call, he went through all the spiel about what DECA was, and they almost like he was trying to sell the affiliate program, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm on board. It's good, it's good. And then he's like, okay, well, have you ever done a DECA? I was like, well, yes, I've done a couple. Like I've done all the distances, and then I went to Atlantic City for the World Championship, and he's like, okay, so your experience. And then that was it. So no, I didn't drop we won.
When you say
For,
World Championship,
yeah, 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 yeah. So anyways, he was like, oh, you have a lot of experience. So it's kind of cool because I think a lot of gyms will actually tack this on without ever having done or been to a DECA. And when I did my next onboarding call with a group of about 5 other gym owners, I was the only one who had ever even done a DECA, which was really interesting too. So yeah. But the person I did that initial onboarding call did start following me on Instagram. So I think he knows who I am now. But yeah, it was kind of funny.
I was saying I was talking. Actually, I think I was talking with some guys at work about it. Whatever, we were just joking about it, and I said you should have been there with like your 2 batons, like your first place one from Chicago and your one from Worlds, just going, yes, I've done them before.
I know. No.
But
Yeah.
all good. That's awesome. As far as the event goes, so it was March 5th, right?
March 4th.
March 4th. Okay, March 4th.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. And it is the first Canadian DECA mile, which will be amazing. And which I intend to go set a male record for the DECA mile
For
until
Canadian.
someone comes and steals it, so I can have both for a little bit. But
Yeah.
I've talked to Smack, I've laid down the challenge one-on-one.
Mhm.
I'm gonna smash you just like that. It'll be done. I
Oh,
I'm
I
not
don't know, Dave.
I'm not gonna step up to the fit one yet, or probably ever.
Yeah.
But I got a shot. I got the outside shot. I did the poll on Instagram. People didn't think I do. I think I had, honestly, I think I had like 2 votes or 3 votes, and one was me.
And
So
the other one doesn't know what they were voting for.
no, it was Riley.
Oh.
She felt bad, she says. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to do a better showing than that. I guarantee that.
Yes. Yeah.
It won't. It
We'll
won't.
see.
Won't be like 95% to 5 anyway. Anyway,
Mhm.
so I'm very excited. I think a lot of people are. It's going to be really good. So if you are out there and you do want to do a deca mile, Strathroy, Ontario, it's only about 2 hours from Toronto,
Yeah.
give or take. Get in on it early because it's going to sell out and we're going to have an absolute blast.
Yeah. Hmm.
There might be clowns and circuses and you never know. It could
Who knows?
happen. It
It's
could happen.
Strathroy. Anything can happen. But if you really wanted in and the space is full, then you can message me and we can potentially open up some more time slots. Yeah. So if you really want to get in your Deca Mile and you're planning on coming in for that, then let me know.
Yes. Awesome. Um, I'm just super excited. And there's like we said it before, there's a lot of DECA stuff going on in Ontario in the next little while, and that's great. I'm
Yeah.
really excited and so happy I don't have to drive 4.5 hours to go to see these things, to go and do these things.
Mhm.
Speaking of dates announced, High Rocks has announced another date in New York. They just announced a date. I believe it is June 10th and 11th, which doesn't work for me at all, which kind of sucks. But another one in New York, kind of, is it time that High Rocks expands its footprint?
Yes. I mean, it's so difficult for us to get to, and you're not really going to draw in new people unless they have heard enough about High Rocks and they're kind of at an elite level where they're used to traveling. But unless you start opening it up in new venues, you're going to just get the same people, I think.
Yeah, I tend to think too, even if they just step away a little bit, like I know they've done New York, Chicago, Texas, they're doing a little bit because they go like to Austin, they go to Dallas. They'll move around a little bit in Texas, and that's good. Um, but yeah, maybe something, and I mean, this is not selfish. I'm saying maybe something down in Florida, where you get a
Yeah.
good run. Atlanta, a good area, and obviously, yes, up here, Toronto would be great. Chicago's good. Michigan, somewhere, around the Detroit area. Like,
Yeah.
just move it around a little bit or put in a couple more because I know like they already had one in New York this year, and there are a lot of us that are starving to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even for us who would be considered in that area, New York, it's an 8.5 hour drive, at least 9 hours, which
Right.
we do. We do that often, but
Mhm.
we're the outliers, right? We're the nut jobs.
Yeah.
And I know,
Yeah.
I think they need to expand their market a little bit. I really do. Um, but still glad there are more dates and glad they do seem to be getting more participation. Still baffled by Chicago and then no extra pro wave.
No. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff right now with High Rocks that I'm a little confused about. And I don't
Mhm.
want it to come off as not liking High Rocks or whatever, because I do think they're fantastic and I think they do so many things well. There's just some stuff they're doing that I do not understand. And I think I'm hoping very soon actually to put together an episode with us and some other let's call it High Rocks media types and hash out what we think's going on and what ways to make things better and maybe do like there's a lot of things. We want to help. We want to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just a
Just to improve it.
lot of stuff. There's too much to get into right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
many things. But again, love High Rocks. Can't wait to get ours on. And I've been looking at the times and stuff and trying to keep it out of my head to try to compete because we just want to go for fun on this one. But I still end up looking at the times going, well, we can do that.
Well, it's your first too, right? So I think keeping an open mind and I think the fun aspect should always be first anyways. And sometimes when you go with that mindset, you end up doing maybe a little bit better than you might expect. So
Well, I think I'm going to go to the same thing like I did with the Deca Mile at Worlds. And I'm actually like, I'm going to make Ryan and I just sit at the back and start right like very last and
really?
just go. Well, did you see my start at Deca Mile?
Well, no, because you're behind me.
Yeah, well, I sat right in the back and I waited like you guys were gone for like 3 seconds before I even crossed the line.
Mhm.
Like I was sitting there making fun with bubbles. Just
Oh.
because I was doing everything not to take it seriously until halfway through, and then I decided I needed to race Bethany. And I lost. So good for High Rocks. The other thing that I saw come out too, and this could be a huge rabbit hole, but OCRWC going to be in Mammoth Lakes in California, and they put out a post, which is great, interactive and stuff. And they're like, you know, what obstacles would you like to see? What do you want to see back or different or the same? So, I mean, I pose the question to you straight off. OCRWC, I know you're not sure if you're going or whatever the case, but if you were going, what would you like to see from them course wise? Or anyways, wise, anyways.
Yeah, I thought last year was really great. There the obstacles were difficult, but not too difficult. Like I think the completion rate was fairly high. Um, so I thought last year or this past year was really, really well done. Like, and I think the obstacles were fair. There was enough failable obstacles. I mean, I didn't finish with my band, but I mean, some of that I think was just, it was my own, I made a silly mistake and then it kind of cost me, but I don't know. I thought last
You're muted.
call coming in.
There we go. Jeez, this is going to be an episode I have to edit a lot of crap.
Did it just mute me?
Yeah, it did.
Oh.
That's all right. So you, like you said, you didn't finish with your band, but you thought the obstacles were good.
Yeah.
I agree. The obstacles were good. I was happy with them, but there's some things I would like to see a little bit different. I think from a technical standpoint, they were probably decent. I might like a little more technical, but that's just for personal preference. If I'm looking at it as a race entirely, I think they were fairly spot on with the actual difficulty of the technical obstacles. But I do want to see some things different. I want to see more balance obstacles, like kind of balance and agility, because if you fail a balance or an agility obstacle, you go right back on, you right back at it. And it's not like when you fail a rig and you're gripped and you're shaked out and you could be burned out for the rest of the race. It's just like a quick whoops, go back and whoops, go back, right? So you could retry that 30 times and still be okay. So I'd like to see more balanced stuff. I think it's a part of OCR that is not exploited enough. And I mean, I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say the heavy carries were a joke.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the heavy carries. It was kind of a non-issue for anybody. It was just a thing.
Yeah, it was just like another little half run up the hill carrying little steel things. We're not even going to go into the foot fighter thing, but I want to see, like, especially when they're short like that. I want to see, and on that 3K, like I want to see, even if it's 100 meters, but like a double old school double sandbag Spartan carry where it's something for real.
And it makes a difference with the race.
Yeah, where it's actually applicable. Now, mind you, we did see Austin pass like 3 guys on the one carry that one time, but that's an outlier. I want to see, and I always got a soft spot for those big boys and girls getting out there and getting their moment to shine on those heavy carries. So I want to see heavier carries, like definitely heavier carries. And I want to see the team thing split up properly again. Like I don't want to see technical obstacles on the speed and on the strength relay, on the strength legs.
Yes, that right.
You know, and I don't, again, there could be some people, because I like seeing people who have gone just, I can't remember his name, but I remember a buddy of mine. I call him a buddy because, you know, we've done OCR together. Right. So I believe Scott, but I can't remember Scott's last name. And I remember seeing him at Stratton one year at NORAM. He's a big dude wearing the kilt, and he's just trucking up that hill with the heavy carry, and he's in his glory. Now, he's not going to be destroying Stairway 2.0. He's not going to be, you know, the kind of guy that excels at all those hanging obstacles, but he was in his zone, and I like that there was a place for that, and that he had his spot and was able to embrace it and enjoy it. And the same with the speedsters, you know, maybe some of the speedsters who can just run like the wind and maybe do the odd obstacle here and there, but aren't really into the technical ninja wars. I want a spot for them too. So I want that to go back. And then the team portion at the end, I want teamwork stuff, not just a couple of technical obstacles that everybody has to go through. Like that, bring that wall back too. When that wall was teamwork, that was awesome.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
So that's what I want to see. We'll see what they do. I wonder about the building there and stuff, and will we just see more Spartan obstacles and stuff? I don't mind if they're Spartan obstacles. I think that's fine, but
yeah.
But hopefully we get some building on that because it'll be, I mean, a different source for obstacles going across the west side.
Hmm.
All right. So we wanted to talk a little bit, and everybody's doing this, but oh, and by the way, we were going to reveal Team OFX this weekend. This week we're not, because you know what? I've been very ill this week. I've had the man cold. It's been very difficult on me, and I haven't put together a good reveal thing. So we will probably do Team OFX the next week or the week after. But it is a great team. We're very excited. So we're going to talk about 2022, some of the stuff that got us from 2020. We're not going to go through every little thing like the race brain did, even though they got some stuff wrong, like what, some of the best moments and stuff. They got some of it wrong. Maybe we'll touch on a little bit of that. Even though they're great guys, they can still be wrong. So Beth, dive in 2022, things that hit home for you. Good, bad, and different.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about kind of the things that came out of 2022, which was, it was a cool year in that it was the first full racing year where everybody from all countries could attend races again after a 2-year hiatus. So everything was kind of back to normal. Races were getting more attendance again. So there were some things that happened this year, I thought, that were notable in the Hyrox and OCR world. And then the first one that really came to mind, which was women racing pregnant. So we haven't seen this a whole lot in OCR and Hyrox, and I think, or OCR and hybrid, and I think some of it is that the sport is a little bit more risky. People race road races pregnant, but when Lauren Weeks raced the top 15 world championships at Hyrox when she was 8 months pregnant and came 11th, and so beat a couple of the girls. It definitely surprised a lot of people. She didn't know if she was going to race it up until closer to the end, and she won the North American Championship at 4 months pregnant, which shocked me too. And it always is really interesting because it shows people again that the pregnant female body is still completely capable. It's not a fragile and it's just again changing these ideas that we have about women's body and their capabilities. And I think just what she did was really outstanding. And then it was cool because at the same time that Lauren was doing that, we also saw, because there's also sometimes I find, and this happened to me too when I was pregnant, and I was pregnant fairly young, but my coach at the time kept comparing me. I was pregnant at the same time as Kara Goucher. And if you know who Kara Goucher is, she's one of the best American distance runners of all time. And my coach kept trying to get me to keep training through my pregnancy like Kara Goucher. And it's like, I'm not Kara Goucher. And my pregnancy was not smooth. Like I could not have done what Lauren Weeks did. And so my fear too was that women now seeing this would think that that's just what should be the norm. So what was interesting is that at the same time as Lauren did that, Rachel attempted to race too while pregnant, and it just did not go well for her. So the female pregnant body also is very, very different depending on the person. So what Lauren did is not necessarily the norm, but it was really outstanding, I think, to see. So that really stood out to me in 2022. I don't think that we've really seen that in our sport before.
And that was one of the things I said that Race Brain got wrong. They did mention it, but I think that was far and away the most impressive performance of 2022. I was absolutely blown away. And just the thought, like, of seeing Lauren tear off the start line and leading, like not hanging back. And I'm just doing this. No, she is going after it right off the start, and she has the baby bump, and visibly very pregnant. And you're like, just what an animal.
And she said she kept her heart rate around like 135 the whole time. Like she was chilling. And that to me too is like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then you look at it, and then you still, what Rachel Vondrack did was amazing too. Like she just got in there and mixed it up. And it just shows, like you say, it's a bit of a crapshoot sometimes, as Rachel is an incredibly fit woman, incredibly powerful, and we all know an amazing athlete. And, it was just different experience for her. So, by the way, I miss you, Rachel. We need to have you back soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rachel's great. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I still say the most impressive performance of 2022. I didn't what Chris Rogloski did was amazing. What other people did was amazing. You know, Hunter's record High Rocks was amazing. Just all great stuff. But to me, it doesn't compare to.
Yeah,
I thought it was ninth, but maybe it's 11th. But so
it could have been
Lauren,
ninth. 11th was in my head, but you could
okay.
be right.
So let's Lauren's ninth place finish at Worlds is to me the most amazing performance of the year. So
Yeah.
hand down. Um, yeah. What else you got?
So 2022, I found, and again, I think so it to me also it was the rise of the non-alcoholic drinks.
Mhm.
So and I'm giving a huge nod to Designated Drinks, who have supported us in our podcast as well. And I think, and I've thought about this too, like it seems to be this trend, and it's really cool that it's happening. And I think maybe some of it is that the people started drinking more during lockdown. So we kind of had these 2 years of people falling into really bad habits. And then as the world kind of opened up again, people needed to change their habits again. And they started to think more and more about um, actually cutting out alcohol. And from there, they started to look at alternatives. And then in 2022, all the beer companies started creating a new line of their non-alcoholic drinks, which was really cool. And then entirely new companies coming out with non-alcoholic beer. So and Designated Drinks started in June of 2022. And they now have over 50 non-alcoholic beers, just Canadian beers alone, which I mean, that didn't exist 2 years previous. So 2022 was a huge, huge boom in non-alcoholic drinks.
I think it's great too. And I actually have this discussion with guys at work sometimes because I catch them in it, construction work, big burly guys, they like to drink their beer and stuff. And we talk about it, and I joke about, about drinking the non-alcoholic beer and tell them about it. And they're like, why would you do that? That's crazy. That's weird. It's not. And I said, well, why do you drink beer? Oh, because I like beer. And I'm like, so it's because you like the taste. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. It's not because you want to be a drunk. No, no, no. So why do you need the alcohol?
Mhm.
Fuck off.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but some of them have got it. Actually, I've had some jump on the bandwagon and go for it and take
Yeah.
the change. And it's, again, like I said earlier, just try it. You don't have to say, "Well, I'm never drinking alcohol again." It's not like that. You just
Yeah.
trust me, give it a shot. You might be surprised. You might find something you really like, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of advantages to being sober.
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking about racing here, so
Yeah.
it kind of goes hand in hand with all of the things that we do. So,
Oh yeah,
mhm.
there's nothing like I said before, going on a trail run with some friends and cracking a couple after you're done a hard run on the trail and then getting in the car and driving home and not worrying about it,
Right.
and being safe. So
Yeah.
that's really good. And I've even seen like it's gone big time too. Like Heineken 0.0 is one of the major sponsors of Formula One.
Oh, wow.
And like so every time you watch a Formula One race, you see Heineken 0.0. And it's the most logical sponsorship I've ever seen.
Right. Right.
Non-alcoholic
Race
beer
car driving.
sponsoring race
Yeah.
car driving. It just makes sense. So it's big.
Yeah.
It's become a big business and it's big time. And I'm glad to see it. And I hope it continues to grow and we definitely be a part of it. So yeah, awesome. I definitely, you're right. That really jumped out over the past year.
Mhm.
And again, you mentioned this before we started on. I wanted to talk about this because it came up today too. Was more, and we seem to talk about a lot more steroids.
Yeah. Wow. This year, it seemed like every other week there was another person you typically from a world major marathon announced to have been caught with another doping ban and a range of different things that they were caught doing. It was predominantly East Africans, and then I mean, there was another situation that I kind of followed throughout the year too, where a woman who came off of her ban and then she was cherry picking all of these small marathons where they don't do drug testing and winning them all. And so and again, I was trying to think why, because I don't think people are doing it more. I think people are getting caught more. And I think um, the cheating happens quicker than the testing for cheating happened. So I think we're kind of catching up on things. And the other thing is some of these training groups that are on the east coast of Africa, they're in such remote places too that are not easy to get to. So there's not a whole lot of out of competition testing. And I don't know if we're just getting a lot better at detecting it or if they're doing more testing protocols at these major training centers that are in more remote locations. But yeah, and but it's really interesting and it's good to see because I mean, the more you see people getting caught, hopefully the less people start to do it. But the other interesting thing that I saw today was some countries are actually making performance enhancing drugs illegal and then they'll tack on additional bans. So I saw this today. There was a an Italian runner who received a doping ban, and then Italy itself, because it's illegal, they tacked on like an extra 30 years to his ban.
30.
It was something where it's just short of being a lifetime.
I think
Yeah,
30 is a
because
lifetime for an athletic
so
ban.
it was sorry, there was more to it than he was doping, but he was also distributing and trafficking the PEDs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm almost favor harsh penalties. I like that stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. But wow,
Yeah.
that's heavy.
Yeah.
And what I think wasn't there recently I thought there was an African woman, a marathon girl who recently got caught too, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, it was one of the world majors again. Was it Boston? So one of the really, really big ticket ones where the prize money was like 150,000. I think it was Boston. And it was like almost a year ago. So then I was my question. So then
Yeah.
the prize money goes to the second person, but then my question was, does she have to pay it back? So I looked into it a little bit further, and according to the people that would respond to me, she hadn't been paid it yet. So I think she had probably been tested earlier and then they were it sounds like things are just coming out now, but she never actually got her prize money.
So maybe
So
maybe they did it right. Maybe they went through and did the test and got the negative, then went through the appeal process, then did everything
and then they
before they went
announced
and
it.
announced it, which
Yeah.
seems really smart. But at the same time, the poor woman who deserved to win had to wait like a year.
Well,
Like
it's been a year.
she's
Yeah.
sure she's still delighted, but at the same time she was robbed, and that's kind of the point. But
And you're robbed of the celebration. And that's a thing. Like it's not just about the money and the records too. It's like in that moment, she didn't get the recognition of winning a world major. And that's so big and standing on the top of the podium. And, you're robbed of that whole thing. And we see this often too in the Olympics where someone will come, it'll be years and years later. And then everything's kind of bumped down, but you're robbed of standing on the top of a podium at the Olympics. And I think that's to some people, that's the biggest thing.
yeah, I agree. I mean, and even like I think back to CrossFit and Vellner getting that one time his first CrossFit, he didn't get to stand on the podium and it ended up third, but didn't get to do the whole experience, the moment. And that's pretty.
Yeah.
It has been a rough year for that stuff. With CrossFit, we had huge numbers before the games test positive, and this came up today. Actually, I was having a discussion with someone, and it caused me because you and I had a discussion before, and then it came up today, and so I went through the rules of both High Rocks and DECA, and it is actually stated in DECA that it is to follow the WADA standards. Now we all know that I don't think there's ever been any testing for DECA. Maybe there will be one day, but it is actually within the rules. I did not find it in the High Rocks rules. I could have missed it, but I didn't find anything about WADA standards or performance enhancing drugs or anything like that anywhere within their rules. And I mean, we all know that they're growing in leaps and bounds and huge pop, like getting 4,000 people at an event. And I guarantee it's in there.
Oh, do you think that's just a misstep?
I don't know, but I hope they correct it. Like, I assume it's a misstep. Like you think about it. So when DECA made their rule book, they actually got to draw, and we make fun of the Spartan rule book very often. but they did get to draw from the Spartan rulebook, so they know, okay, this is boom, cook, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste for a lot of things, right? Like athlete integrity and abuse of officials and drug testing, stuff like that, right? Copy paste. Whereas High Rocks had to start their rulebook from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could have been an oversight, and it could have just been like a case where they're like, well, we don't have the means to test, so we don't put it in the rule book, right? And not even thinking about it like that way, like we don't have the means to test, so just allow it. It's more like they kind of look at it as writing that rule, we can't enforce it, so we don't put it in there.
Uh-huh.
So I mean,
What about
hopefully,
having to do with like in the spirit of the sport?
yeah, maybe something like that. Like I said,
Mhm.
I'll have to work a little more, read through it a little more detail and really interpret everything, which I enjoy doing, so I will. But but yeah,
Mhm.
it was like, oh, and I looked at it more as something that would come up in High Rocks just due to the supremely fast growth and popularity, how like and how well they're doing. And quite frankly, they're bigger athletes is generally, right? Like it's a lot more, there's more strength involved in High Rocks, and it's also a longer event. Like it just, I
It
think,
takes a lot out of you. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I think it would more plays to that where I'm just like, oh God, when's it gonna happen? Like when do we see how bad it could get and how bad it could be?
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not. I mean, again, I don't think like if I because we know so many of the people at the top, and I don't think that they're using, right?
Hmm.
But who knows? You never know, right? Like, but by the way, I forgot to mention this back when you were talking about the pregnancy, and this is total jump back. Do you think Tia Toomey was pregnant when she was in the games? Like that was really close, wasn't it?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my gosh. When the games is in August?
Yeah.
She could have been because she
Yeah.
looked very pregnant in her Instagram post.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I was like, that's pretty close. It just popped in my head.
Oh wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, who
Hmm.
knows? So yeah, it's a shame that the steroids have played such a big part in our 2022, but they really have. And I think they will continue to. And then it's going to get even grayer areas. And I don't think we want to get into this, but I mean, with the transgender and
Yeah.
hormone manipulation, or not hormone manipulation, therapy. I don't know what you
Yeah.
call it, PC words.
Hormone replacement therapy. Yeah, 2022 was also again a year moving more towards inclusivity in sport, and which led to this year. Actually, just now oh, I guess it's this year. Well, no, the race would have happened in 2022, but our first track athlete in Canada, actually, who is transitioned to a female, taking a Canadian record. So in an age group record, female 45 and a 5,000 meter indoor. I think it was an indoor track
Yeah.
record. So yeah, so it's happening. Um, and then they just have to follow rules based on testosterone levels. So that's kind of how it works with trans athletes. So 2022 was the work towards inclusivity. But yes, it's a massive gray area.
I don't know. I think like part of me wants to dive right into it, right? Because there's so much interesting stuff,
Yeah.
but it's so on the edge. And I mean, I know I will not maintain political correctness through the whole thing because I'm just not knowledgeable enough.
Yeah.
And but it just to me, there's so many questions that get raised that
So it's not terrible to talk about in general terms, but just because I mean we will see this in OCR at some point,
yeah.
right? We will, and so for interest sake too in the rule books for Canadian track athletes, you have to have started your transition has to have been completed 12 months before, and then your testosterone levels have to be below I think it's 5 millimoles per liter, which is actually still very high for a natural female. So there are stipulations that you still have to fall under in order to compete. But yeah, we'll see it in OCR. This was a big year for it, and even the trail running scene was actually the ultra scene moved faster towards inclusivity as far as like records and stuff. But yeah, the track world is starting to see it too. And it's one of the reasons also that they are actually, they're talking about taking out weightlifting from the Olympics so that they don't have to deal with that. Because it's just,
That's terrible. Like as a reason, like, I mean, it's sad,
hmm,
to take something out because we don't want to deal with a controversy.
I know, but it's so hard with what's the right answer. I mean, they tried to do it with the track as far as androgynous women, and then so an androgynous woman cannot compete in any race under the 5,000.
So when we went through it, and this was the question that jumped to my head, was if that level is 5, and I can't remember the units that you use
Yeah.
there, would someone like, for example, you be able to take testosterone therapy to boost you to that level?
Yeah, that was a really interesting question that you asked me this week, and I never thought about it that way. But yeah, so then basically are we because they have to take drugs to lower their testosterone levels.
Hmm.
So then the question then would be, why could I not take hormone replacement therapy to bring myself up? Because I would not be that high that they would have to come down to. So it's an obvious advantage. So then we're kind of talking about then competing based on hormone levels. And you're
Yeah.
kind of taking it gender right out of the question.
Well, and I think that's kind of the goal there, isn't it? Right? Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just, fair is fair to me. And if I'm kind of off, I'll be straight up. My thing is, I think, and so we are, we're here. Anyway, my thing is, I think I definitely think the trans people should be able to compete. I think totally they should be able to compete, but
Yeah.
maybe it should be in a trans division,
Yeah.
and I've heard someone say that they suggested an open division where, you know, um, trans women could compete against men, women, whatever. But then I heard, and this made sense, that they felt, some people felt that in that situation they wouldn't, be competing as a real woman because. So I'm like, okay, I get that. So maybe a trans division is the way to go. I I don't know. I'm just throwing
Yeah.
things out there because it
So in the
is
end, in the end, it's women affected primarily, right? So
primarily.
it would be, I mean, you're not really going to see a woman transition to a male and then all of a sudden take podium spots. Like that would be extremely unusual. So it's really the women who are affected by this.
Yes.
So I don't know. That it seems to be the only solution would be to create like another, but then how many people would be competing in it? Like the pool would be small.
I don't know.
Or not. Maybe if they have, maybe it would, I don't know.
Maybe
It would
maybe that would be the thing for
encourage.
them to be comfortable and compete in, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't
Again,
know.
I've talked about this. So I feel like there's never really a right answer to
There's
any of
not.
this. Everyone's just trying their best to make things work and for people to feel included. But then, and like what we were talking about too, the battle is between what's fair and what's inclusive. And we're trying to be inclusive and we're doing our best to keep things fair. And it doesn't always balance out.
Yeah. So again, another mark for 2022. It's interesting. Like there's so much stuff like that. And I mean, there's a lot of times where, I'm cocky and arrogant and I say, this is how to fix it. And I do
Mhm.
that a lot. I have no idea on this one. Like
No.
I don't know. I have thoughts. Maybe they would work, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. I'm too far
Yeah.
removed to really
Yeah.
understand enough of the situation. But
Hmm.
I do think it's something that needs to be addressed. And I
Hmm.
think that it's something that, and maybe this is out on a limb, I don't think is currently fair.
Hmm.
So hopefully we can keep maneuvering around that and keep being inclusive while improving fairness. That's what I'd like to see anyway.
Yeah. Hmm.
But wow, what else you got for 2022?
We weren't even going to talk about
No,
that,
that
but
wasn't a plan, and I think we could go a lot more, but I'm just going to leave it
yeah,
at that because I don't think at this point I've offended anybody yet.
no, yeah. So we'll just move on before that
Yeah,
happens.
moving right along.
So 2022 also was the year that we kind of settled into having carbon fiber plated shoes now always on the scene everywhere. So they were legalized in 2020. I think the Breaking Two project was 2019, I think, and then 2020 they legalized under certain specifications the carbon plated shoe, and then Nike kind of had the market. And then all the other companies had to quickly have theirs. Otherwise, what was happening was all these pro athletes were just spray painting their Nike shoes black so that they could race them, because there was such an advantage to them.
Yes.
So 2022, every company now has their carbon plated shoe. So it kind of leveled the playing field in that. So it's also now records are just dropping like crazy. And it happened. And again, because races are finally opening up and, Canada can finally get out of the country and race, we've seen so many Canadian records drop also. Like our Canadian marathon women's record has been smashed again by Natasha Wodak, and people are just dropping so much time. And 2022 also saw the first launch of a carbon plated trail shoe. So then thinking ahead to 2023, we might start to see OCR shoes potentially, or these trail shoes will start to show up on the OCR scene. So if you haven't had your nose or your ears to the ground about carbon plated shoes in the trail scene, it might be something that you start to look into, because you will start to see them in the OCR world. But yes, carbon plated shoes everywhere now, 2022.
Do you have a pair?
Yes.
As do I. As do I.
I waited a long time too, because I don't race road racing. I mean, if I was in that world still, I probably would have had a pair of shoes faster, but yeah, sooner. And again, it's if you're racing on the roads and you don't have a pair and you're racing against people who do, it's not an equal playing field. So, yeah, I do have a pair, and I bought another pair because I am going to do a little bit of road racing this year. It helps form. So there's some other things too that when you read about it, it does help to improve your efficiency and your stride. So even if you have some things with your stride that you want to kind of work on, it's not bad to wear them once in a while for that reason too. So yeah, there's other benefits to it. They're not shoes that you should train in all the time though, of course, and they do break down a lot faster than regular training shoes, so they're not meant to be an everyday shoe.
Yeah, and it's not just the carbon plate too. Normally they have the super foam in them, which makes a huge difference too. And so I have a pair of the Ultra Vanish carbon, and they're fantastic. I absolutely love them. But and this is, I will tag Ultra in this, so hopefully they listen to this part here. Ultra, please pay attention. I love the shoes; they're amazing. But why do they have a grip factor of a slippery pig? Like,
yes,
I have no grip in these things whatsoever. I wanted to use them for the Deca relay, and I couldn't, because I couldn't even get the tank going. I looked like a cartoon character trying to just spin his feet there.
Yeah, it was bad.
Put some grip on them, please. Please, I'm begging you. I will buy many, many pairs. Put grip on them. Sold. I don't know why. I have no idea. Why do any shoe company make shoes with no grip?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. I guess you don't really need grip on roads if that was their intention.
Well, and I now have 2 treadmills. So on one treadmill, they grip great because the belt is very, very grippy. On the other one, it's more worn down, and they are slippery even on that. Like, they're slick. So I don't know. Hopefully they can get more in them, because I would really I would love to wear them for High Rocks in Chicago, and there is no way I'm going to push that sled with those shoes. I would just sit there and spin my wheels all day long.
You'd take them off and do it in your bare feet.
Maybe can I carry an extra pair of shoes and just switch them for that part?
Yeah,
I think that might be reasonable, because that's the only spot I'd need them. Everywhere else would be no problem. Just and it's the same with Deca. It's just the pushing of the sled and tanks.
Yeah.
Other than that, it'd be okay.
So with the shoes too, actually, they just announced the Olympic qualifying times, and they have dropped fairly significantly in the longer distances, and it's in large part, I think, to do with the shoes. But yeah, the 10,000, the marathon times, the qualifying times for the Olympics, the Olympic standards have dropped also.
Well, technology, it happens,
Yeah.
Everything changes with technology. It gets better. Look at hockey. Very different world than when we started. So I think I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm embracing it. It's great. I got no problem with it. Just give me more drip.
Yeah. It is what it is. They're just so expensive.
They are. And then like you say, they break down faster too. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know, part of the deal, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I think if if people will pay it, then they're the right price.
Well, exactly. And I mean, when Nike had a monopoly on the market, they could charge whatever they wanted
Weren't they
because
like
people,
four
you
hundred
just had
dollars
to
for a
buy
little
them.
while?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They were when they first came out. Yeah.
Yeah, mine were not that bad. I think they were like two something, I think, which
Yeah.
is still
That's about the
pricey.
average now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Around 250.
And I love them and I'll buy them again. I don't know if I gotta spray tacky stuff on the bottom or something. I don't know. It's gotta be a
Oh
way.
yeah.
Somebody's
That
gotta.
stickum stuff that you spray before you tape yourself.
There you go. That'll
Yeah.
work. I just do it right before the sled.
Yeah.
It's like steroids.
Yeah.
What if they'll be testing? Or chalk.
Oh yeah.
Uh that was good. What to you though? So I mentioned that I thought Lauren's performance was the biggest performance of 2022. What about you? What do you think? Or even just another one that jumps out at you?
Um, yeah, like Lawrence was pretty significant. I I think Chris Roglowski's season in general was kind of a wow factor for me. She seemed to never falter, never really have a bad race. I doing what 600 milers and then finishing it with WTM 100 miles. That's so phenomenal to me. So her season in general, I think what she accomplished was one of the biggest things for 2022. Um, yeah,
When you,
like her winning the 15, so on the front end of the year, and then continuing to have a phenomenal season, and then running the 100 miles to kind of finish off her season was just, it was crazy.
when you think we saw her firsthand do the 100 miles at WTM and win there and set a women's record, and then the next weekend go to DECA, and everybody's like, oh well, she didn't perform well there because of the 100 miles. In reality, she pretty much placed where her qualifying was.
Yeah.
So it's not like she had a stinker performance. She performed pretty much to her abilities.
Yeah.
Then the fact that she didn't have a massive drop off after that was unbelievable. Like her, we said, her recuperation is superhero. Like it doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
but there it is. And yeah, she was just amazing her whole season. Unbelievable. I'm with you. I think that those probably were probably the two most impressive things. Yeah, I know it's not one performance, but her season as a whole was great.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing we didn't mention, and this is 2022, was the year of collaborations. Spartan, World Obstacle, and now a little bit with OCRWC.
Right.
So those are three entities that in the past, the thought of working together was unfathomable
Mm-hmm.
and just heresy, for lack of a better words. It was criminal. And now they're partnered up. And what do you think that means for sport as a whole?
Um, I think I think it's good for the sport. I think it had to come at some point and for these groups to start working together to further the sport as a whole and kind of stop the competition with each other. I think really only good will come of it.
One of the other big stories, and we've talked about this a lot, is the Spartan shift to the 3K.
Yeah.
And that seems to still be, opinions are still varying because I mean it hasn't happened yet. They just released the schedule. Um, with the schedule and seeing it and stuff, did it change how you feel about it, or
No, and I mean it's the other races are still there. This 3K is something you have to apply for. It's a limited number in it. You can still race the year as if that never happened. So there's still a beast even at World Championships, which is a championship race. So I mean, you could completely ignore the fact that there was a 3K also. All
yeah?
the races are still the same. It's an add-on essentially. I know that's where they're focusing and that's where a lot of the prize money is, but I mean, if you still wanted nothing to do with it, you could.
So you ready for this? My opinion has changed a little bit.
Okay.
It's too long.
Oh,
It should have been a 1K.
oh yeah.
I really believe this. Like,
But the
'cause
qualifiers are 1K.
yeah, but I think they should all be 1K, three 1Ks, two qualifiers, and then a 1K final. And I think that would be even more exciting. Now, I'm still excited about the 3K. I hope to be able to jump into one someday. I hope to be able to take part. I can't wait to watch it, maybe even help video, whatever.
Hmm.
But I think when I look at them, I am more excited about the qualifying heats
Yeah.
than the 3K race itself because I look at the 3K and I think the same people who win the 5Ks and the 10Ks are going to win the 3K.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same. You're not going to bring in a different market of people. CrossFitters are not going to go, hey, 3K, I'm going to jump into that. Ninja Warriors are not going to go, hey, 3K, I'm going to jump into that. It's going to be the same people. You know, Lindsay's still going to be great. Atkins still going to be great. And I don't want these people not to be great.
Yeah.
I just want to grow the sport a little bit.
Right.
But 1K is enough where it's crazy, where it's, you know, it's a
Different enough.
open, it's a different enough. It becomes that difference because I mean, you're not going from a like realistically a 3K Spartan race or OCR is still going to take, and we've seen it at OCRWC 18, 20 minutes for the best in the world.
Yeah.
Right. But a 1K is going to be 6 to 8 minutes. And that's
Yeah.
a very different skill set,
Hmm.
you know? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
that's
they kind of tested it out in Abu Dhabi where the team relay was 1K.
and we didn't see it.
And I know, I know. I was just looking at times and I remember Rylan Shaddig's time was a 5:22.
Yeah.
Something like that's the number that's in my head. It's a five something. I think it was 5:22. And and it was pretty significantly faster than some of the other people.
Mhm.
That's really fast. That's fast. That's a decent pace just running a kilometer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a 26-minute 5K pace
Hmm.
with no obstacles.
Right. Yeah.
Which I mean for Rylan, for most of high end OCR is really slow. But
Yeah.
considering you're throwing in 12 obstacles, it's pretty
Hmm.
damn fast.
Yeah, that's what I
Even on
mean.
sand.
That's a really fast race. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that I'm more excited at the 1Ks and that 3K relay thing. That's fantastic. I would love to have. I can't believe they haven't released even a video of that or something. Anything. I would love to have seen that. I would have
Yeah.
rather watched that than the giant beast distance one, which was still good. But you know,
Hmm.
if I'm sitting with some buddies and they're like, "What is that race crap you do?" and I show them 2 hours of a beast race, they're gonna be bored 5 minutes in, going, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Who cares? So you run
Yeah.
a lot. If I
Hmm.
show them a 5, 6 minute 1K race, they're gonna be glued to it.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
just what I think.
Yep. I
You know,
can see your point there, actually.
I mean, I could be way off. I could be wrong. It could be just me because I like the short fast stuff. That's great. But yeah,
Mhm.
at least have a logic to my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it, actually. Hmm.
So I think they should have kept the series as it was and added this on, even if they divided the prize money into two, whatever, something like that, and put this Friday night 3 1Ks and then your regular series race on the Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would have been happy. And even the people who Atkins and Lindsay, who were probably the most staunch against this 3K thing, even them would have been like, oh, yeah, cool. I'm there. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds fun.
It sounds like
Hmm.
fun. Sounds like a great time. So
Yeah.
much like they've done with other stuff, with, with TMX and with,
Yeah.
Spartan Games and stuff. They'll jump in. So I think that would have been a way to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
We'll
so
see.
Levy, it won't happen. um, Other than that, let me see. Did I have anything else here? I think that's about it. 2022 is great. Oh, so one last thing, and I guess you do this at the beginning of the year. I'm not asking for New Year's resolutions, goals for 2023.
Oh, so yeah, I haven't really, I mean, so DECA Worlds, I'd like to be in the DECA Fit, the actual one. That would be my primary goal. I'm doing more functional fitness racing this year, so it's a bit of a shift. I'm still racing Spartan, but um last year was kind of a build back year, so my goal was to finish the year uninjured. It was kind of a yeah, I think generally speaking to improve on everything from last year. I don't have, other than DECA and being in the DECA Fit finals at the World Championships, I don't really have any else that's like super specific.
But I kind of think
I have
that's
more
good.
business goals, I guess.
That's good too.
Yeah.
But I think that's good. I think when you have that narrower focus, that helps. That's a good thing. I mean, we always say most people have too many A races, like eye on the prize.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's
good.
my goals. Mhm.
That's good. That's good. For me, oh, I dropped my fancy pen. For me, it's to beat Bethany at the Deca Mile. No, yeah, yeah,
No,
you
it's
know,
not.
no, it's not. I do. I'm going to push you. I'm going to push damn hard.
I know you
Um,
are.
but no, I would like to get back to the back in the relay for Deca at Worlds. I absolutely loved that. I had a blast. It was
Yeah.
one of my favorite experiences. I want to get back to that. I would like to get a relay baton this year, somewhere along the way.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
yeah, what was that? Oh, I don't know. It's a snide remark there. Um, I would like to go back to OCRWC and again qualify for Pro Wave. I'd like to go in the 3K Pro Wave again. I only say hesitant on it because it is going to be a very expensive trip. I do not know if I can make it yet. So I'm putting it as yes, that's a goal, but um, finances and time could get in the way. We will see.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get to, and so I'm going to say like 75% sure I'm going to go. But
Mhm.
those would be the two big ones. Would be the Deca relay and that, and I do want to be Deca age group for Strong and Mile as well at Worlds.
Mhm.
So I've hit the age group, and I don't have any ambitions that I could hit the open, the pro ones for that. But the age group
Mhm.
one, I do believe my times that I've been setting should be able to get me in as long as even if I stay where I am. But I plan to continue to improve. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it and keep doing this, like having a blast and having fun and
Yeah.
doing some more live streams for the Deca Fits. I think that's been something I've been very proud of. That's gone really well, and
Mhm.
hopefully continue to improve them. Yeah, and growing our little community here in Canada, which has been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Do you know what else we didn't talk about? One thing that I really liked about 2022. I'm going to talk about a lot, but was North to Seven.
Oh, yes.
Sylvie's
Mhm.
little North to Seven race. I love that. It was a great time, and it
Yeah.
was just. I said it then. I said no. It's just that grassroots was awesome.
That's what we need more of. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully she does it again, Sylvie. If you watch or listen,
Yeah.
please do it again. We had a great time, and we'd love to come back.
Yeah.
And
And go out and support those kind of races because people put so much time and energy and heart into them, and having people backing them and supporting them, it means a lot.
awesome. Well, I think that's it. We have some big shows coming up soon. I don't, I'm not gonna throw out guests because then things happen, but we may have a very big one next week, so we'll see.
Mhm.
I'm gonna reconfirm that. But that's good for me, Beth. To wrap up 2022, you good?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone, for supporting us too. Last year was our first full year. Wait,
No,
when
no,
did we
it's
start
because we
this?
started like right now. This is so we finished 2 complete years now.
Okay, you're right. We did start in January. Okay, so we've been doing this for 2 years. Time flies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention. All right, business stuff. Business. So, like I said, we are going to release Team OFX coming up. And as many of you know, there is no longer a Spartan team
Mhm.
uh, for going on. So, as it is, Team OFX pays just as well as Team Spartan. So, but we have never asked for any support in any way. No Patreon, no money, no nothing, anything like that. If you want to support us or if you want to help us, what I would love and what I would really appreciate race codes. We want race codes for our members of our Team OFX to donate to them so they can get to races and show up and perform at the highest level that they do and entertain us along the way. So if you're out there, if you enjoy the show, if you're, maybe you volunteered, you have some other race codes, whatever it is, that would be great. That would be fantastic. We don't need your, if you want to give us cash, go right ahead. But race codes are what we're after. So
Yeah.
if you can donate some race codes, we'd love it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you guys for listening for the past 2 years. And we're going to keep going
Yeah.
until we stop.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah.
Beth.